Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, I can. I can't see you though.
Hang on. I'm trying to get it. Camera.
There we go.
There we are. All right. How we doing there, brother?
I'm doing great. Oh man, if you're ready, I'm ready to start this interview, man. I'm so excited to talk with you,
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
man. This let's just start. Let's just start. I am so excited to talk to you because of what's happening in your music career. Congratulations on Blues Without You. I love that album, and I
Thank you.
know this around this time of year is all Christmas music, and you got to do all the stuff, but you have
Right,
been
right.
a welcome break from Mariah Carey and all that Christmas music. I listened to this album on repeat. Got to be over 4 or 5 times today, just getting ready for this interview.
Well, I tell you what, it makes me feel good, man, because I've been out here a long time. I've been trying for a long time, and sometimes when you out there so long and tries to make some kind of impact and can't do it, it's very discouraging. And I had got to the point that where it didn't even matter to me anymore if I continued. But then, all of a sudden, when you think it's all over, a nice break came, and good things are starting to happen. So it's a revival for me, a resurgence.
I love it because one of the things I was reading about, this is your first album in 7 years.
Yep.
And within that, do you consider this, knowing what you've been through, a comeback album? Because
Also, for sure, for sure. I mean,
really,
it's been 7 years for that, but I think it's been about 25 years as an independent. When I first started my career, I started with a Point Blank Virgin, and everything was off to a good start. But I was very green at the time, and have always seemed like have had bad management choices, and got involved with the wrong people, thinking that I'm doing a good thing. And when you make bad choices, it takes a long time to recover sometimes.
well, speaking of those choices, I love a lot of the choices that you did, especially on this record, because it, even though it does have just soulful blues in it, there are different elements that's in this album, whether it be country, rock, funk. I love the horns that you added in, or you take a song like Arkansas with the horns, or Down to the Bottom with the violins. These were expertly produced, like to a point where it's just like it's the little things, you know.
Right, right. The little things that make a big difference, and I have to credit a lot of that to Joe Bonamassa and Josh Smith as producers, because I've worked with some decent producers in my life, but it's nothing like working with one that's a player also, because they can not only tell you what they want you to try or which direction they push you toward, but they can show you by picking up the instrument and giving you an example of what would fit well, and that carries a little bit more distance and impact.
Now, Joe Bonamassa and Josh Smith, those ain't no slouches. How did that connection even happen?
Man, well, I'm an old son of a gun, and I've been knowing them since they was kids.
All
I, I,
right.
I met Joe Smith when he was about 14, 13, 14 years old. And then come on later on, and I knew about Joe, and I had seen Joe play when he was a youngster like that too. But I didn't meet him till he was in his early 20s. I think Joe told me he was 21 or 22 when we met the first time.
Okay.
So it's been some years. It's a lot of young successful people that are out there doing it in their careers, and at the time when they got started, a lot of them, believe it or not, open shows for me.
I
But
mean,
that was in the early days. You know what
that's
I'm
just
saying?
how it
And
works.
that's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
It, I'm glad you kind of brought this up with the old days, because I want to compare the old stuff to what I just heard on this record. It's like in the old time, and I'm just using you personally, a lot of your
Uh-huh.
guitar work was emphasized, but this time it was a lot of your vocals. What made that
Well,
change where you became a little bit more emphasized on the vocals instead of your natural talents of guitar?
well, it's in my whole career. I've always had people telling me what I should do in terms of what they envision in the potential that they maybe saw in me as an artist. So I never really went for what I knew or for what I believed in. But I think this record here is more indicative of my style and reflects more upon my background and where I come from and things of this nature. So I've always had a variety of influences. I've always wanted to be a blues man, but a blues man and beyond, with the fact that it's not just pure blues. It's blues with a little rock, a little reggae, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little soul, a little R&B. And together, I think it comes together to give you a picture of what more modern bluesmen are shooting for. Each generation take it to a different level. I was a production. My generation come from the influences of B.B. King, Albert Collins, and
Three
so forth,
Kings.
Luther Allison. And now, people younger than me will be influenced by people of my style and my genre. Joe B and Josh Smith, that's another generation down. They will influence the generation before them, and it keeps passing on down. And I think that's what reinforces the music and what keeps taking it to a higher level.
One thing I want to talk about now, I mean, especially with the music. The music is just great, but I want to talk a little bit about the writing process, mainly because as a blues man, you lit up a little bit. So something happened. When you're writing, a lot of and it's kind of cheating with blues musicians because a lot of your stuff that you're writing about is very cut and dry, it's your life. You're writing about things that happen. But
Right.
this one, even though it's been 7 years and a lot of crazy stuff happened in that 7 years, you really hear it. Did you need to really? And I want to take a song like Blues Without You, which the title track, and it was about Paul. For those who don't know the story, I hope I'm not treading lightly. He's
No, no, no,
been
no.
he was your running buddy. He was your boy. He was your manager for over. You knew him for over 30 years, and he
Yeah,
passed.
yeah.
A song like that, and you could kind of hear it in the recording. You didn't have to do too much writing or a creative license or something like that. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because I mean, if you listen to the song, it's kind of right there.
Right. Well, Paul Cook and I, like you said, we ran together for about 30 some years, about I think 33, 34 years. And his passing came one night after a gig. I live in Michigan. I live in Bay City, Michigan. We drove out to the Thumb out to Ubley, Michigan, and we had a gig out in Angelina's and had one of the best nights that we had had in 20 years. I mean, everything fell into place. I reunited with some people that we had worked for years before. We were working for them again. We got together with the club owner and the family. We reminisced. We talked about old days. It couldn't have been a more perfect night. And me and one of my fishing buddies, Jimmy Jabira, he's a keyboard player and a writer and a musician. We got together and we rode out to the gig out there. So that night was the first night that he had met Paul. And Paul was one of them kind of guys that had a reputation that preceded him. So he had heard about Paul Cook, this and that and other. And they only got a chance to meet briefly for about a couple of hours. And the cat passed away. So he was with me. And when we stopped by, Paul and I lived only about 3 miles apart from each other. So I had to go the same route home that he took when he had his accident. So we drove right past the accident after his passing and saw the police, saw the car, saw the whole situation and went home. So Jimmy knew what it meant to me and he stayed with me that night. And he stayed with me on into the afternoon the next day and went home. And when he come back, he had written those words. And when he showed me those words, man, the song kind of just wrote itself and fell into place. It was such a real thing, and it was about, I still when I pass that place now, when I pass that house, I can't help but look and wonder and think about him. You know what I'm saying? So it's still kind of like a scarred memory for me. But I just hope that in somewhere that he at least know that things are okay, and that I feel like that this is something that I accept for him and all the other people involved with me that no longer participate or no longer can participate, either because of death or because of health reasons.
And I mean, and you're right, because you can feel it when you hear that song on the record. You feel that, for lack of a better term, it ain't fake.
No,
That's real emotion that's coming out, you know.
yes, sir.
And
For,
and when you lose somebody, I've lost some people. We all have, and that is the best way to put it in words. And I'm kind of gonna jump off this topic for a second. We said I sing the blues without you. I sing the blues about you. You're projecting. That's your own hurt. It's all right. I, I I encourage anyone under the sound of my voice right now. If you don't, please check that out. If you don't listen to nothing else on that album, check that one out. It's a title track for a reason. But one of the songs that I love, I guess it would be like a slight number two, is Breaking News, because the wordplay you do with that, it's it's a non-political political song. If that makes sense. You're not picking a side, but you are bringing up some stuff that's happening right now.
making it aware, putting it out there for people to opinionize on it.
Oh, I mean, it's right there. And when you talk about like little stuff like the price of toilet paper, and then like, oh my god, it's relevant because we're in the middle of an inflation right now. So yeah, I was listening to that on the way to the supermarket, like, oh yeah, he does have a point, because here we are. It's something I don't think will go out of style, because every topic you named is such universal. I assume that's one of those things you didn't really need too much help with that either.
Right. Well, looking back, I was a big fan of the Watch Stacks concert. And, if you go back and look at that footage, you'll hear different ones talking. The same thing they was talking about just about 50 years ago are the same issues that we're facing today. You go back in history, look at Malcolm X, look at Muhammad Ali. The scenario have not changed. It's just the players are different, but it's the same thing going on now that was going on then. So I've always been a fan of when I choose my lyrics, I try to choose direct and to the point, so that there's no question or no doubt. And that's the hardest thing for me to do, to try to be conversational. I
Right.
think, in my opinion, a song should be conversational, and it should be just as plainly understood as us standing here talking about whatever we're speaking about right now. So, with that breaking news thing, it was talking about all the different things that are going on, like you said, that are going on in the world today, right now. And that was a co-write with my friend Steve Gilbert. But building walls are sinful, but not for gated communities. Politicians keep on shifting and lying about what will be. They keep on promising free things, but nothing in this world is free. It's all paid for by taxes. So how is it free for me?
There you
Breaking
go.
news in the morning, breaking news at night, breaking news at lunchtime. Make me and my baby fight. Breaking news in the evening, breakfast and dinner too. Every time I turn around, have mercy. The people are so confused. And
Man,
I just try to keep it real, Sam. That's all I try to do. I try to keep it real.
man. And lastly, and speaking about keeping it real, this is like, I love this song, Arkansas.
Oh yeah.
Arkansas is it's I know you. Like what I heard on it's a fun song. And how you was talking, I'm like, oh, I've met this man. I know his family. I've been over his house. I didn't ate. I got it. He done been over my house. They had a beer
See,
together. I know that guy.
and
That
and and that's that have been my whole musical career, but that really is my message and my aspiration. I've been out here, like I said, 40 years with not a whole lot of monetary success and maybe not a lot of people in the business knowing who I am. But the people who support my music, they're my family folks. I have met so many great people just by going to the gig and connecting through music. And music is the only thing that break down a lot of prejudicial walls and different things that we can't come past. But if we enter through music, it's chopping down, man. It gets rid of all the impurities and bring you straight forward to the issues. And the real people connect.
yeah. And one of the things, like when you have all of this in one album where you are connecting, you throwing all those barbs out. I'm very curious, during this time of 7 years, were you just writing it down as you went along, or was it just sort of like you didn't?
Not at
I mean, we
all.
went through a pandemic. I mean, like that would be a great time to write some stuff down.
Well, it the like the 7 year gap, I guess everything was compiling in my brain. But when I had the time off, I tell my girlfriend Peggy all the time that it saved my life because most what people don't realize, most people that play and sing the blues, it's a constant it's a constant endeavor. You have to be out there all the time to make it make sense. As they say, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. So just to scratch and stay on board to make it, you have to constantly be out there. So this pandemic is the only time that I've had time over all the last 8 or 10 years to really sit back and just focus on being creative. So me and my girlfriend sit down and I just told her, I said, we need to take advantage of this time and write some songs and stuff. And we didn't really know what we were writing for, but we just tried to write songs and bring some ideas to life. So during this time, we must have come up with at least about 35 songs. And so when Joe and Josh came to make the record, they thought that they were coming to write all the songs. And when they got there, we had songs already. They were like, man, this is going to be a lot easier than we thought. So, it was a good thing. Everything, I guess, happened for a reason. And the timing was perfect because we had already started getting ready for something. We didn't know what we were getting ready for. But when
Right.
the time came, we did have something to offer.
Now, one thing that you just said, and it kind of touched on me a little bit. He said you got to
Mm-hmm.
be out there, and you got to be out there constantly. But one of the things about being out there constantly, people, and I'm saying it like we saw you. People find a way to get pigeonholed by this business where we've been seeing it before. You sound like that guy, that person sound like that person, and when you're constantly out there, because you got bills too.
Right, right.
Does that go away, or do you just kind of work into just being pigeonholed into this spot? And like, how does that work? Like, I started off this interview by saying how creative this blues record is, but I
Mm-hmm.
believe if you was out there, it probably wouldn't happen.
Right. Well, the thing what I try to always stay away from is that I have never been a person that have been pitiful or feel sorry for myself that life is not maybe as convenient and easy for some. This is a hard business. The music business is a hard business. And if you fall on a certain side of ethnicity,
Mm,
sometimes you can find yourself in a little bit tougher position than most. And with that being said, I never want to be known as one that plays the race card, say, oh, this didn't happen because of my race or because of my color or this and that and the other. But there is an element that still has to be dealt with. There's no doubt about it that
right.
there is an element of that there. But what we have to do is find ways to overcome and to, you know, as they say, don't hate the player, hate the game. And so, it just sometimes takes a lot of time to fall within a favorable position to have the powers that be, to have the power, the people who have the power to turn it on for you,
Right.
those are the ones that you have to convince. And I don't know what it is that it takes, but in my case, it's taken a lot of perseverance,
I
and
get it.
you just got to be steadfast and keep on believing that something better can happen.
Now, do you consider that more of a artist problem, like artists not sticking together, or is it more of an industry problem where those gatekeepers, if you will, not wanting to wake up and learn new stuff?
Well, it falls on both. It could be a little bit more awareness, but it's a lot of things that affect it. When I go out to blues gigs, most of the time it's less than 5% black. And black people, are supposed to be the gatekeepers of the blues, where it was all invented from or where it came from. But our people don't support our music. And so with that being said, you're starting from behind the starting line in the first place when
Right.
you don't have peer support or, you know, support in your own community. So I mean, that's still you having to appeal before someone maybe who don't have the same understanding. You can take any music and you divide it by ethnicity, you're gonna have different interpretation. Not to say that one is any better than the other, but you're gonna have some differences, and that's what have always been the great thing for me. The difference in how we see, how we interpret, and stuff like that is what make us come up with new things. And so I embrace the difference of it. It's just that we gotta appeal to the people in the industry to make them a little bit more aware that there are other options out there, maybe than what they're seeing right now.
Okay. And that makes sense. Mainly because you would never know if you don't open up your eyes. But speaking
You
of
gotta,
there it is.
yep.
But speaking of that, I gotta do this. I know we're getting close to it, but I would be a fool if I didn't ask this one last question.
Okay.
We talked about passing the torch back. Do you, Larry McCray, blues legend, throughout your entire career, is somebody who probably watching this, probably listening to the audio version of it, picking up a guitar for the first time? Do you have any advice for them? Because you didn't live it. You've been here.
Well, the love of the music is what attracts you in the first place. So never lose the love for the music, but know that in the music business is 95% business and 5% music. So I mean, with that being said, I think that you have to try to be at the height of your game musically at all times. But don't do like I did and make the mistakes and think that the industry itself is on your side. It's not. It's up to you to be smart enough to navigate whatever you have to navigate to put your career in the place that you want to be. So don't take it on alone. Have somebody that professionally knows how to build a career and to build a brand. That's what it's all about today. When I started out, it was no social media. Now it's all about social media. If you don't have a great social media and a social media brand, you don't get the opportunities. So it's a lot of things about the music business that have changed since I started, but focus on the music, but definitely don't go out there in the blind when you start doing your business. Have a good law firm or someone behind you to help you decipher and interpret the important things that you need to focus on. Don't skimp on the business.
True words, wise words. I gotta do it for you. If you talk about social media, I want to make sure I say it again. I say it in the before the interview, but Facebook, Instagram, official Larry McCray. The album is called Blues Without You. You're on YouTube at official Larry McCray 6613. All you're currently on tour now, and the tour dates can be found at LarryMcCrayLive.com. Did I miss anything? This camera, that camera, this camera. Go ahead.
No, 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 no. We talked about it all. The one thing I will say that this is a tribute for my brother Steve. My brother Steve have drawn with me for my whole career, and he fell sick here the last during the pandemic. I think was 22, and he haven't been able to go on the road with me lately. But I'm looking to put things in a different position to get my brother back out there with me, and it just ain't as sweet without him being here. I wish that we could be experiencing this together, but right now his health is not allowing him to do so. So I want to acknowledge my brother and my whole team, everybody that has been there for me, all the people who have supported the music. Is not about Larry McCray. It's about the people who have been there for me. I want to give a tribute to them and thank them all.
All right. And along with that, we're sending prayers and healing energy to your brother because he needs to get some of this too. Seeing you, hearing you, it's he needs to be there. I mean, like if you're doing it with a team, all the team need to be there. And speaking of speaking of hearing it in the audio portion, is it cool if we play a couple cuts, especially the ones we reference, like Breaking News Arkansas and Blues Without You?
That would
Um,
be, but I would thank you so much for that.
All right, we'll put it in the audio version, and I'll make sure our social media, you'll get a nice little thumbs up where they can buy the album. Wherever you get music from, they need to have that. Christmas right around the corner. Put them in somebody's stocking. Be a blessing to
That's
somebody else.
right.
So
Good idea, man.
hey, I try. I try to help my people. Y'all helping me. I get a chance to meet y'all cool folk. I got to pass the ball back. But Mr. McCray, this has been an honor. I know I went a little bit over time. I hope you don't mind. But this was great. You are welcome back on the podcast anytime you want.
God bless you, brother. Thank you so much, and I hope I get a chance to come to your town one day and maybe get a chance to shake your hand.
All right. Hey, you're not that far away from me. You said Bay City, right?
Yeah.
I'm in Detroit. You're playing a token in a few weeks. I don't have the dates in front of me right now.
28th.
On the 28th. I don't run that past the missus because we're doing a lot of family stuff, but I may have to duck my head in there.
If it's in the stars, if they line up, I'll be seeing you.
All right. Hey, don't threaten me with a good time. I'll be there. if like I run past the boss, but
I heard that. You don't forget the boss. You got to run it past up first.
All right. But thank you so much. I'll be seeing you.
Thank you, brother.
Right.